Imagine. A boy who could barely speak without his voice breaking into a stutter. A young man who buried the love of his life and his little daughter within weeks of achieving his biggest dream. A father who held the hands of his injured sons, not knowing if they would survive the night. And a leader who, time and again, stood back up when the world thought he was finished. This is not just the story of a politician. It's the story of a fighter. A man who learned that true power comes, not from never falling, but from rising every single time you do. This is the life of Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. November 20th, 1942. Scranton, Pennsylvania. A small town built on steel, coal, and the dreams of hardworking families. It was here, in a modest home, that Joseph Biden Jr. was born. From his earliest days, Joe Biden faced a challenge most people never saw. He stuttered. Every sentence felt like climbing a hill that was too steep, every word, a battle. Some classmates laughed. Some looked away. And every day, the young boy went home feeling the weight of their stares. But inside that boy was a quiet fire. A refusal to let his voice be silenced forever. Night after night, he would stand before a mirror, repeating lines of poetry, memorizing speeches, training his tongue to obey his will. He fought not just for words. He fought for the right to be heard. His father, Joe Sr., was a man who believed in dignity above all else. There were times when the family had almost nothing. But he told young Joe, "A man is not measured by the size of his bank account, but by the strength of his character." And his mother, Jean, taught him another lesson. That when someone knocks you down, you get up, smile, and say, "You're gonna need more than that to keep me down." By the early 1960s, Joe Biden had found his footing. At the University of Delaware, he discovered a love for history and politics, and an even greater love for connecting with people. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room, but he spoke with sincerity. And sincerity is something people can feel. In 1966, while studying law at Syracuse University, Joe met Nylia Hunter, a young woman full of warmth, grace, and ambition. He once said, "She made me believe I could do anything." They married the same year, building dreams together, brick by brick. Just 6 years later, at only 29 years old, Biden made a decision that would shock everyone. He ran for the United States Senate. Few believed a man that young could win. But Joe believed. And so did the people of Delaware. Against all odds, Joe Biden became one of the youngest senators in American history. But just as he reached the mountain, life pushed him into the deepest valley. 1 week before Christmas, Nylia and their 1-year-old daughter, Naomi, were driving to buy a Christmas tree. A tractor trailer struck their car. Nylia and Naomi were killed instantly. His sons, Bo and Hunter, were critically injured. In an instant, his world collapsed. He thought of resigning from the Senate, walking away from politics forever. But Bo and Hunter needed him. And somehow, in his grief, he found the strength to keep going. For the next 36 years, Joe Biden would commute from Delaware to Washington by train, every single day. He did it so he could tuck his sons into bed each night. The Amtrak became his second home, and fellow passengers became like family. In 1988, Biden ran for president for the first time. But the campaign collapsed in a storm of accusations, and then, his body betrayed him. He suffered 2 brain aneurysms and underwent life-threatening surgeries. He later said, "They gave me less than a 50-50 chance." For months, he fought not for power, but for survival. But nothing could prepare him for 2015. Bo Biden, his firstborn, his pride, his mirror, died of brain cancer at just 46 years old. Joe said, "Bo was me, without the flaws." Once again, Joe Biden stood face to face with grief. And once again, he had to decide whether to stand back up. In 2008, a young senator named Barack Obama came looking for a running mate. He wanted someone with experience, someone the American people could trust. That someone was Joe Biden. Joe's warmth and empathy connected him to everyday Americans. As vice president, he became more than just the president's partner. He became his friend. Years later, Obama would say, "Joe, you were the best decision I ever made." For 8 years, Joe Biden served the nation, guiding policy, comforting families of fallen soldiers, and representing America around the world. And when his vice presidency ended, Obama surprised him with the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It was a moment not just of recognition, but of love between two men who had faced storms together. By 2020, America was in turmoil. A pandemic had taken lives. The economy was struggling. And the nation was deeply divided. Joe Biden made a decision that would test every ounce of his strength. He would run for president, one last time. Not for ambition. But, as he said, "We are in a battle for the soul of this nation." Campaigning during a pandemic meant speaking to half-empty parking lots instead of roaring stadiums. But Joe believed the quiet conversations mattered just as much as the big speeches. And then, the moment came. Joe Biden was elected the 46th President of the United States. Alongside him, Kamala Harris became the first woman, the first Black American, and the first Asian American to serve as vice president. Joe Biden's legacy is not just in laws passed or offices held. It's in the moments where he showed people they mattered. He often meets children who stutter, and tells them the same thing he once told himself: "Don't let it define you. You can do anything." He is often called the empath in chief. Because Joe Biden doesn't just understand loss. He has lived it. And that is why he carries other people's pain, as if it were his own. Behind the scenes, he is relentless. Staff members say he still writes personal letters to families in grief. Sometimes, hundreds each month. Joe Biden's life teaches us something powerful. That no matter how deep the pain, no matter how many times you fall, you can stand again. The boy who stuttered. The father who buried his wife and child. The man who lost his son. Now stands as a symbol. That hope is stronger than heartbreak. He once said, "America is an idea, stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant." And maybe, his own life is proof of that idea. So if you are broken, if you are tired, remember Joe Biden's journey. Because his life whispers a truth. That no matter the darkness, you can always rise again.